On July 15, 2020, something unbelievable happened. The Twitter accounts of some of the most powerful people in the world suddenly started posting the same message. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Apple, Barack Obama. Each account told followers to send Bitcoin and promised they would double the money. Millions of people saw it. And for a few terrifying hours, it looked like Twitter had completely lost control. But the truth was even more shocking. The person responsible wasn't a nation-state hacker. It wasn't a cybercrime organization. It was a 17-year-old kid. But this story didn't start inside Twitter. It started hundreds of miles away, in Tampa, Florida. The teenager behind the attack was named Graham Ivan Clark. At first glance, Clark didn't look like someone capable of pulling off one of the biggest social media hacks in history. He was just a teenager living at home with his parents. But online, things were very different. Like many young hackers, Clark spent a lot of time on internet forums and Discord servers where people traded rare usernames, social media accounts, and digital goods. In these underground communities, usernames themselves could be incredibly valuable. Short usernames, rare words, or popular gamer tags could sell for thousands of dollars. And the people who controlled them were known as OG users. Clark became deeply involved in this world. He learned how to take over accounts, how to manipulate people online, and most importantly, how to make money from it. By the time he was 17 years old, Clark had already built a reputation in these communities. He wasn't just another kid on the internet anymore. He was someone people recognized. Someone who knew how to get access to accounts that weren't supposed to be accessible. But Clark wanted something bigger than stolen usernames. He wanted a score that would make his name known across the entire hacking world. And in 2020, he found the perfect target: Twitter. But hacking Twitter directly wasn't easy. The company had thousands of engineers and some of the strongest security systems in the tech industry. Breaking into their servers would require sophisticated malware, expensive tools, and months of planning. So Clark didn't try to hack the technology. He hacked the people. The method is called social engineering. Instead of breaking through security systems, hackers manipulate employees into giving them access. Clark and his associates began targeting Twitter employees directly. They contacted them through phone calls and online messaging platforms. In some cases, they pretended to be members of Twitter's internal IT team. They claimed they were helping employees fix technical problems or access internal tools. And eventually, someone made a critical mistake. An employee gave them access to Twitter's internal administration panel. This tool was incredibly powerful. Inside the dashboard, employees could reset account passwords, disable two-factor authentication, and even take control of accounts. In other words, anyone with access to this system could control almost any Twitter account on the platform. Suddenly, a 17-year-old hacker sitting in Florida had the keys to one of the most powerful social media networks in the world. And at first, Twitter had no idea. At first, Clark and his group tested the system on smaller accounts. They wanted to make sure the access worked. They reset passwords, logged into accounts, and confirmed they could control them completely. Once they realized how powerful the access was, they went after the biggest targets on the internet. Within minutes, some of the most famous Twitter accounts in the world were suddenly under someone else's control. The account belonging to Elon Musk posted a message offering to double any Bitcoin sent to a specific address. Not long after, the same message appeared on the accounts of Bill Gates, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. Then it spread even further. The official account for Apple tweeted the same message. So did the accounts of Uber, Cash App, and several major cryptocurrency figures. The message was simple: Send Bitcoin to the address in the tweet, and you would receive twice as much in return. It looked like a generous giveaway, but it was actually a scam. Because the tweets were coming from verified accounts belonging to billionaires and world leaders, many people believed them. Within minutes, the Bitcoin wallet connected to the scam started receiving payments. People around the world were sending money. Some sent a few dollars, others sent thousands. And as the tweets continued spreading, the amount of Bitcoin being sent kept increasing. But something even stranger was happening at the same time. Twitter employees were starting to notice the chaos, and they realized something was very wrong. Inside Twitter headquarters, confusion quickly turned into panic. Engineers began noticing that multiple high-profile accounts were suddenly posting identical messages. At first, some employees thought the accounts had simply been compromised individually. But within minutes, it became clear that something much bigger was happening. More and more verified accounts were being taken over. Celebrities, major companies, even former presidents. And they were all posting the same Bitcoin scam. That's when Twitter's security teams realized the attacker wasn't just hacking accounts. Someone had gained access to Twitter's internal administrative tools. Those tools were never supposed to fall into the wrong hands. They were designed for employees to help users recover accounts or solve technical problems. But in the wrong hands, they could be used to control almost any account on the platform. The situation was escalating fast. Millions of people were watching the tweets appear in real time. News outlets began reporting on the attack, and the Bitcoin wallet connected to the scam kept filling with money. Twitter had to act quickly. In an unprecedented move, the company temporarily locked down verified accounts across the entire platform. For several hours, even legitimate users couldn't tweet. It was the first time in Twitter's history that the platform had been forced to shut down major parts of its system during an active attack. But even as engineers worked to regain control, the damage had already been done. More than $100,000 in Bitcoin had been sent to the scam, and investigators were just beginning to piece together who was responsible. As the attack unfolded, law enforcement agencies quickly became involved. The scale of the breach made it impossible to ignore. Some of the most powerful accounts in the world had been hijacked, and the entire incident was happening in public. The FBI immediately launched an investigation alongside cybersecurity experts. Their first priority was tracing the Bitcoin wallet connected to the scam. Because every Bitcoin transaction is recorded on a public blockchain, investigators could see exactly how much money had been sent. But identifying the person behind the wallet was much more difficult. Meanwhile, Twitter's internal security team began reviewing employee access logs. They needed to figure out how the attackers had managed to get inside the company's internal tools. What they discovered was alarming. The attackers had used social engineering to trick employees into giving them access to internal systems. Instead of breaking through Twitter's technical defenses, they simply convinced someone to let them in. But the hackers made one critical mistake. They talked about the attack online. In underground chat rooms and Discord servers, some of the people involved began bragging about what had happened. Screenshots of conversations started circulating. Investigators began connecting the usernames used in those chats to real individuals. And slowly, the pieces started coming together. Within weeks, authorities had identified their primary suspect, a teenager living in Tampa, Florida. His name was Graham Ivan Clark. On July 31, 2020, police in Tampa moved in to make an arrest. Authorities surrounded the home where Graham Ivan Clark was living and took him into custody. Despite being only 17 years old at the time of the attack, Clark faced extremely serious charges. Prosecutors accused him of orchestrating one of the largest social media breaches in history. He was charged with organized fraud, unauthorized access to computer systems, and identity theft. Because of the scale of the crime, Florida prosecutors made the unusual decision to charge Clark as an adult. Investigators also arrested two other individuals who were believed to have helped coordinate the attack online. As more details of the hack became public, the story shocked the technology world. Many experts had assumed that such a large-scale breach would require sophisticated malware or advanced hacking tools. But the truth was far simpler. The attackers had never needed to break through Twitter's security systems at all. Instead, they had manipulated people. A few convincing phone calls and messages were enough to give them access to one of the most powerful internal tools at the company. Eventually, Clark accepted a plea deal. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by probation. The other individuals involved also faced charges related to the attack. But the Twitter hack left behind a much bigger lesson for the entire tech industry. Even the most advanced companies in the world can still be vulnerable to the oldest trick in hacking: human error. For a few hours in July of 2020, a teenager sitting behind a computer had control over the accounts of billionaires, world leaders, and some of the biggest companies on the internet. And millions of people watched it happen in real time. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more insane cybercrime cases, make sure to subscribe for more hacking stories.